The ravaging effects of the coronavirus induces the government to take the bold and unprecedented decision to keep the celebration of Labour Day and the National Day of Cameroon on hold and devote resources in putting out the pandemic out of the country. The anti-coronavirus efforts in Cameroon are gradually paying off as close to 700 cases have been treated of the infection in the country as at today. A technological innovation at the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications puts the Cameroon Postal Services and the Bank of Central African States at a standoff as to who controls the keys of the safe while waiting for the innovation to take roots in the country. Those are our top story. Hello, thanks for joining us on the 7:30 News. I am Ben Meno Pufong. The President of the Republic has annulled every public festivity on the International Labour Day and celebrations marking the National Day of Cameroon come May 20. This decision is intended to preserve public health due to the ravaging effects of COVID-19. As Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashonyenti reports, this will be the second time that 20th May will not be celebrated in Cameroon.
President Paul Biya's decision to annul this year's public manifestations of Labour Day and 20th May espouses the aphorism, desperate times call for bold decisions. Political power and real leadership is also about taking tough decisions. There is no doubt this one was certainly a tough decision to make, given that it will be the second time since the peaceful revolution in 1972. The first time 20th May didn't take place was in 1984 because of the unfortunate events of that year. Due to the urgency of the hour, speculations were already rife that a decision could be reached on this, but the decision was for Paul Biya to take. That is now done as part of a package deal of anti-COVID-19 measures the government has taken. 20th May is the most quintessential public holiday in Cameroon, during which Cameroonians recall and rekindle the glowing flames of national unity as a people born of the same destiny. The Labour Day and 20th May are very popular and extremely promiscuous events with reception galore that would have, no matter the care that may have been taken, seriously rubbish one of government's cardinal barrier measures, that is, social distancing. The government has to teach by example at the risk of preaching one thing and doing quite the opposite. It is possible that expenses might already have been incurred in both the public and private sectors and losses are certain, but the health of Cameroonians is paramount because health is wealth. Besides, part of the luster and glee of 20th May comes from the usual exuberant and flamboyant participation of pupils and students who are now on forced vacation since March 17. What would 20th May look like without these young compatriots? Care should, however, be taken not to say beyond what the presidential decision has said so far. Cancellation of public manifestations. Could there be some symbolic events? Let's wait and see.
The news keeping the two major national celebrations in Cameroon on hold has been saluted by an overwhelming probation from across the political spectrum in the country, given the looming danger posed by the killer pandemic, the COVID-19 virus, which is threatening to wipe out the whole of humanity. They all deem it as a decision whose raison d'etre cannot be overemphasized, given that it has been taken in the highest interest of the highest number of Cameroonians. Charles Sebune puts those opinions in this report.
This is how the Yaoundé May 20th Boulevard will look like on May 20 this year because of the cancellation of National Day celebrations that caused the coronavirus.
It's one of the aspects that proves the concern the head of state has for the Cameroonian people. Their well-being is of paramount importance than feasting.
The moment is unique, for it is the second time in the history of Cameroon that this happens. The other was in 1984.
It imposed itself because you cannot ask for social distancing and measures to block COVID-19 and at the same time ask people to go and march.
The national disaster imposed by the coronavirus in Cameroon is a cross-world experience.
In my capacity as a Muslim, I can tell you that in the Mecca, for the first time, according to my own knowledge, for the first time in Kaaba, you do not see Muslim turning around the Kaaba to perform the prayer.
The political class believes it is a unique moment for Cameroonians to better assess themselves.
The head of state, in his capacity, empowered by the Constitution, has taken the right decision, which consists of enhancing the fight that the nation has been delivering to overcome this disease.
Throughout the 360 council areas in Cameroon, this is how areas that host the National Day celebration will look like on May 20 this year.
Over a month after government put in place measures to counter the coronavirus pandemic, the Prime Minister's weekly virtual cabinet meeting has evaluated the speed breaks to these measures. Today's cabinet video conferences took stock of the rising number of cases that today caps at 13,033. Christian Che-Atam has the details of today's video cabinet meeting.
The meeting comes a little over a month since government instituted barrier measures to limit the spread of the coronavirus in Cameroon. Officials have not only looked at the effectiveness of the measures, but also at their implementation in particular places. The prison environment, with its 78 functional prisons out of 88, according to 2015 statistics, was one of the sectors under review. With growing indications that cases of the virus have been recorded in some detention centers, the Minister of State, Minister of Justice, Laurent Esso, outlined the strategy put in place by his ministry to protect detainees. The meeting also revisited the process to repatriate Cameroonians blocked in some countries around the world since the 18th of March, when the Cameroonian airspace was closed. The Minister of External Relations, Jean Mbela, made an assessment of the repatriation process so far. Concerning education, the different ministers in charge presented the modalities which will govern the deployment of students in Cameroon if schools were to resume on the tentative date of June 1st. The case of pupils of the nursery who cannot effectively use the barrier measures put in place by the state was particularly examined. The interministerial meeting held at a time when statistics indicate 22,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus in Africa, with 1,333 cases in Cameroon.
And the figures might have gone past the 13,000 mark in some countries, but in Cameroon, it is just 1,333, as you heard in that report there with Christian Che-Atam. Close to 200 inmates at the Boyo Central Prison have been freed following the presidential clemency which reduced jail terms for a category of prisoners on the 15th of April 2020. The lucky inmates have expressed gratitude to the head of state as they go off to a new beginning in life. Guy Roger Nana now joins us with details from CRTV Southwest.
Ba Marcel has just received his release notification from the hands of the Attorney General of the Boya Court of Appeal, Magistrate Mbia Emmanuel, coordinator of the liberation process. The now ex-convict can't retain his joy.
I'm in prison for 8 years, so Lord left me 7 months to come out, so I just thank Papa God and our president in Cameroon. I would never believe that I would come out from the prison.
Seriously, I can't even express what I'm feeling right now. Seriously, it's an overwhelming joy.
Several others who have been freed within this decongestion process extend their gratitude to the head of state.
I really thank the president because he has really did it this time around, because I never expect anything like that.
They are already looking forward to a new beginning despite the health challenge plaguing the world. The presidential decree signed on Wednesday, the 15th of April 2020 by the head of state orders the commutation and remission of prison sentences. 176 prisoners at the Buea Central Prison have benefited from the exercise. The now released men and women underwent tests for the coronavirus by personnel of the Southwest Regional Delegation of Public Health in a bid to ensure that they are safe to meet again with their families and loved ones.
Regions in Cameroon have received the power to manage the COVID-19 cases detected within their confines. However, given that the virus is new and its management is challenging even great world powers, many are questioning the capacity of these regions to face up to this challenging responsibility of closely monitoring and following up patients. But the Ministry of Public Health is reassuring that capacities have been reinforced and specialists deployed to make the decentralized management of the crisis a successful venture. Beatrice Law-Samba reports on how expertise has been devolved to regions and health districts for better efficiency in the handling of the coronavirus cases.
Questions about the readiness of regions to handle COVID-19 cases comes in a context where this strange disease took the world by storm and left no room for hospitals to prepare to face it. If at the central level it has been challenging in terms of expert input invested to spare lives from perishing, what more of the regions where the hospital's technical platform is known to be less sophisticated?
In the case of decentralization in our region, capacities were reinforced at the regional and district levels to face this big challenge. We had people trained to screen and provide clinical care, collect samples, and in contact tracing.
Sources from the Ministry of Public Health say the transfer of responsibility to regions was progressive and has been fashioned after the central unit, with a rapid response team led by the governor of the region, a toll-free number which attends to cases, the scores of specialized COVID-19 centers, and hundreds of district hospitals will basically play operational roles as severe cases will be evacuated if need be.
This pandemic really shows the weakness of our health system as in other countries. There is a plan that the reinforcement of capacity of health personnel. And we must know that it's not only pneumologists who can take care of those people. We have emergency doctor, internist. We have also general practitioner.
Health experts say the decentralization of the management of the disease has been completely thought through to cave in on the deadly virus. The regions are speedy relays and will carry very fast worries from the grassroots upstream for a better response to the crisis.
Cameroon has been recording a massive success in the treatment of COVID-19 cases. As at today, close to 700 Cameroonians have fully recovered from the infection and have been discharged from the various treatment centers. However, the most disturbing problem with COVID-19 is the number of new cases recorded, which the number of new cases recorded, which the Minister of Public Health in his regular tweets attributes to irresponsible behavior of some citizens. Constantine Baum now takes a look at the sanctions that await defaulters, especially those who facilitate the spread of the killer pandemic.
Many Cameroonians continue to fail to observe the required hygiene measures and rules laid down by the government, and by doing so are putting others at risk, which is punishable by law. The legal sanctions for persons guilty of spreading contagious diseases enshrined in Article 260 of the Cameroon Penal Code, which states is punishable with imprisonment of 3 months to 3 years anyone who is in conduct facilitates the spread of a contagious and dangerous disease.
And you must see here that this section punishes very severely in the sense that it gives only a prison term. Unlike other offenses where they could give a fine option, here there's no fine option. Here it is a prison term, 3 months to 3 years prison term.
Putting the lives of others at risk, and the country as well comes with a hard sanction, meaning direct imprisonment.
Anybody who fails to respect any of the prescribed measures by the international community and the Cameroonian government. So all the measures that were put in place by the WHO, as well as the measures put in place by the Cameroon government, if you violate any single of them, then you have facilitated the communication of an infectious disease.
Law and enforcement officers identify bars and restaurants that operate after 6 p.m. and competent administrative authorities are notified who proceed in sealing the site. Considering overloading of vehicles and motorbikes, they are either impounded or obliged to pay a fine as clearly outlined in Article 362 of the Penal Code. Authorities continue to call on the population to double vigilance and strictly respect government measures to contain the spread of the virus.
The East region of Cameroon has since engaged in the construction of an isolation ward for COVID-19 patients in the region ever since Cameroon recorded its very first case of the COVID-19 case. As the disease makes its way into the region, work on the structure is accelerating, even as the governor of the region has been telling contractors to make haste to deliver on time. The region is also preparing low-cost housing sites for coronavirus victims to create more confinement centers just in case. Elizabeth Bombone is in Betwa.
2 months after the kickoff of the construction of the isolation ward to host suspected cases of COVID-19 in the East region, the outcome seems to be unsatisfactory. Visiting the site, Governor Grigouan Vongo did not mince words as he called on the contractor to review the quality of work done.
The enterprise will do all to adjust the work as soon as possible. We envisage to respect the deadline prescribed by the government. We shall do all to get there.
Over at the 100 low-cost housing project, where the construction work is said to have advanced greatly, having access to water and electricity remains a major preoccupation. Here, Governor Grigouan Vongo instructed that 5 out of the 10 buildings, as well as offices, be reserved for the confinement of suspects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We shall contact the officials of Kamwata and NAO for a rapid solution as soon as possible. I think that in terms of accommodation, we are ready in the East region.
The visit to the construction site was preceded by a meeting with stakeholders to assess efforts put in place in the fight against the deadly pandemic.
Let's now take you over to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center here in Yaoundé to meet our reporter Baldwin Stammer, standing by with updates on the spread of the coronavirus in the country. Oh, it's slowed down. Baldwin, we hear that the number of recoveries from the disease has been quite encouraging and that hundreds more have recovered. And you are also talking about the ongoing campaign for the disinfection of markets with your guest, Dr. Eric Tandy. Do you confirm or you are refuting this allegation, Baldwin?
Good evening to you, Ben. As you rightly said, the good news from here is the impressive increase in the number of persons who have recovered from COVID-19 in Cameroon, given that as of tonight, we have 668 confirmed cases of Cameroonians who have recovered from COVID-19. This information was confirmed to us a while ago by officials of the Ministry of Public Health, who say that the 668 cases of recoveries concern the 9 affected regions, 9 out of 10 affected regions in Cameroon. And with us as resource person tonight is Dr. Eric Tandy, a public health expert in the Ministry of Public Health, to talk about this ongoing campaign by the Ministry of Public Health to disinfect some markets in the nation's political capital as part of the ministry's strategy to fight against the spread of COVID-19. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Baldwin.
Talking about this campaign, how regular can this campaign be to disinfect some markets in Yaoundé?
Yeah, Baldwin, it is important for us to know that since the start of this pandemic, there has been an evolution in strategy. And again, this is a new strain of coronavirus. We must be very careful with each step we take and how we handle it. And that is why it has been important that there is first a decentralization process that has been validated and ongoing. And again, among the package in the decentralization process is the disinfection of public places, starting with market areas, is because we've seen a lot of indiscipline within our market milieu with the population that uses this milieu. So it is quite important because we don't know the elasticity and the life of this virus within our communities. So it is important to kick off with disinfection activity.
It's true that it's not the only means through which the virus can be spread. What is the main goal behind this disinfection exercise, Doctor?
Yeah, just like I mentioned, we don't yet know the strain, how resistant this virus can be within our environment. And again, even though we've advised many times that people should try as much as possible to stay at home, but yet they still use public places, especially market areas. So it is important that there should be, the protection is the government rule, is the government obligation to protect its citizens. So he has marked the disinfection of these public places in order to keep the areas free.
And finally, Doctor, how effective is the move by the Ministry of Public Health to contain the spread of this disease?
But you know very clearly that the Ministry of Public Health or the government has gone into decentralization of strategies that have been used to curb the virus, which therefore means they have propagated. We've changed now from central strategy now to different regions, and each regions have a package, a complete package on how to manage this pandemic. And in each package there is the division of activities, which means the municipalities have their role to play that you already see with disinfection of markets and public areas that will follow, as well as sensitization of the population. But then our local district communities, especially when it comes to testing and treatment of the patients, will also take the relay. So this is a complete package that has been made in order to advance to curb the chain of this virus.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And Bernard, since we're talking about the disinfection of markets, the campaign continues this Friday with 3 markets concerned in the nation's capital city. They are the Mvombi, the Nsam, and the Kunu markets that will be disinfected this Friday, an initiative of the Ministry of Public Health, this same ministry that calls on Cameroonians to continue respecting all the measures outlined by the government to stop the spread of COVID-19 in the country, especially using a disposable tissue. If you have to cough or you have to sneeze, stay at home or use a face mask each time you have to leave your respective homes. The take-home message from here is 668 confirmed cases of recoveries from COVID-19 in Cameroon. Back to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tandy Eric and Baldwin Sama. And as they say in Portuguese, the struggle continues. We carry on now with other developments in the newscast to say the Central Bank of Cameroon is yet to authorize Cameroon's postal services to regulate the monetary activities of the National Aggregation Platform, which will unite all monetary and online transactions in the country under the same banner. As a result, electronic communication is still pending. The Minister of Post and Telecommunications has, however, launched the platform pending this authorization, as you tell us, Clarice Areitaka.
Consumers are unanimous. There is enough foodstuff in the market. However, the public health crisis has brought about some unpleasant commercial practices, some complain. One of those evidenced is the price of some commodities in some markets.
There has been an increase in the prices of some foodstuff. Things are very expensive in many markets. Vendors are complaining about transport costs.
Officials in charge of trade maintain that the fight to curtail the activities of unscrupulous vendors has been a relentless one. While efforts have been observed to bear fruits in some cases, in others, though...
The world is not perfect. I cannot say that there is not any speculation at any place. I apply strictly the rules against those who think that they can continue to play with the law, we can continue to play with the life of Cameroonian. According to the law, the seller cannot refuse to sell, but the buyer can refuse to buy.
As inhabitants look forward to seeing the impact of COVID-19 on their everyday activities lessened, the call from authorities is that economic operators play by the rules, putting the common interest first.
We're sorry for that mix-up there. That was Clarice Haretakan reporting not on the central bank, but rather on some unscrupulous business persons who are now proceeding with the obnoxious practice of creating artificial scarcity and spiraling prices on the market. And the minister has been sounding a very, very stern warning on whoever is caught in such a malpractice. Let's continue talking about COVID now to say the Circle of Friends of Cameroon is on a nationwide offensive, donating hygiene and sanitation kits to orphanages, transport unions and markets to contribute its quota in fighting back the spread of the pandemic in Cameroon. Up in the northwest region, they joined their voices to that of the governor, Lele Lafrique, to challenge the people to wage a collective fight against the pandemic and bar its spread in the region. From Bamenda, Mercy Kusi reports.
The Circle of Friends of Cameroon, CRTV, is extending the fight against the coronavirus to every nook and cranny of the northwest region. Here are representatives of orphanages, transporters unions, and those in charge of the market who each go home with cartons of soap, tap buckets, 1,500 locally fabricated face masks, and 2 water barrels.
We have been struggling in our own way. Little did we know that our mother was seeing us at afar. And thank God he has heard our cry and has sent these articles to help us step the level of hygienic condition in our centers.
The items were shared by Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique, accompanied by his spouse Corinne Lele, who is the Northwest Regional Coordinator of CRTV.
I'm using and seizing the opportunity to ask them to thoroughly, more than even before, they should implement strictly the barrier measures as the fight against the virus is concerned.
This donation by CRTV comes a few days after the Northwest recorded its first case of the coronavirus.
And the CRTV caravan has also been in the southwest region, and it has donated COVID-19 prevention equipment to markets and bus stations, actors, as well as some orphanages in that part of the country. The gifts, which come as part of support to efforts being made by the government to counter the coronavirus pandemic, were handed over to beneficiaries by the governor of the southwest region, Bernard Okaliabilai. Enanga Menyole reports from Boya.
CRTV has joined the government to keep at bay the coronavirus pandemic in the southwest region with the donation of cartons of soap, hand-washing kits, face masks, among others, to transport syndicates, market women, and some orphanages. The different recipients have expressed gratitude to the First Lady, Madame Chantal Biya, for this gesture.
I have a very good impression since the virus came out and they have been talking about protecting ourselves. I think she's playing a part of which we deserve her to do that for us.
She's like feeling for us. So really want to thank her and that God should keep blessing her.
Southwest Governor Bernard Okaliabilai enjoined them to respect the measures put in place by the government to kick out COVID-19 from the region.
To sensitize, beside the administration, the political leaders, the religious authorities, to fully observe those measures.
Governor Bernard Okaliabilai also seized the opportunity to urge the population of the region to denounce family members who refuse to be quarantined.
The female elite of the Ndé division of the West region of Cameroon have armed the population of the division with equipment to fight COVID-19. The division has recorded no case, but prevention is better than cure. And the representative of the group of women told the beneficiaries as she handed over the gifts in Bangate recently. Cynthia Sabtala was with the women in Bangate.
The materials handed to the 13 villages and towns of the Nde division comprised of containers with taps, liquid soap, wash hand basins, face masks, and big water storage containers to ensure that the people maintain good hygiene practices against the spread of the coronavirus.
This donation is welcome. We should appropriate it.
The charitable action of the female elites of the division, with titles of princesses and queen mothers, is part of a 2-week ongoing sensitization campaign.
During a sensitization campaign, we had health personnel who went from door to door to educate the people on this gesture.
Representing the patron of the Association of the Female Elites, Minister Celestine Kecha-Cortez, was the SDO, who urged the population of Nde to take the pandemic seriously.
I wish other people to come and help our population.
According to official reports, the division has no record of infected persons as of date.
As I was saying moments ago, the central bank in Cameroon is yet to authorize the Cameroon Postal Services to regulate the monetary activities of the National Aggregation Platform, which will unite all monetary and online transactions in the country under the same banner. As a result, electronic communication is still pending. The Minister of Post and Telecommunications has, however, launched the platform pending this authorization, as you tell us. Clarice Array-Taka.
The National Aggregation Platform for Electronic Communication has specific objectives.
A platform that aggregates everybody will reduce cost. The country will be able to develop a standard and will be able to respect that standard. Today you have brought together the mobile telephone owners and the bank account owners to have interoperability. Each operator today has the possibility to serve 17 million Cameroonians that have telephones. This platform will help to provide traceability of all transactions in Cameroon. It will help the government to collect tax.
With a myriad of possibilities the structure offers, the impact on financial transactions at the domestic level is key. This, however, cannot be done without the okay of the Central African Banking Regulator, the Bank of Central African States, in order to ensure that norms are kept. Discussions between the state and the institution in this regard are ongoing.
We are expecting BIAC to treat our file that we have deposited and to give us a response, because all the elements they expected us to submit, we have submitted. If Campos wants to offer any service, any payment services, which is in line, then we can now apply to BIAC for a specific service, what is operational on the platform. He who wants to do mobile money transfer needs a license from the competent authority. He who wants to do a banking activity needs a license from the competent authority.
The National Aggregation Platform for Electronic Communication is expected to unite all monetary and other online transactions in the country under the same banner. Industry experts hold its fruits are highly awaited.
Muslims in Marwa preparing to start their one-month Ramadan feast say they are confronted with some harsh realities imposed by the coronavirus pandemic. The general complaint from that end is about the shortage of food items and price hikes of commodities they need to ease their holy journey. These challenges have marred preparations for the holy month, as Sylvester Temken tells us from CRTV Far North.
As the holy month of fasting begins, Muslims in Marwa are struggling with an untimely paradox of the new coronavirus pandemic, with strict restrictions and physical distancing enforced by the government to limit the spread of the highly contagious disease. Some Ramadan rituals and tradition will be reduced this year.
There is no possibility to have contact, hot contact with brothers like any other years. We have to observe more or some rules that prescribed by government. Everything is different than past years.
Prices of basic commodities have equally increased due to the closure of borders, a situation which some Muslims describe as a big blow to fasting, adding that this is a period to feed others by having variety in homes, but the current prices make it impossible for some.
Concerning the market,
prices are going high. It is difficult to buy something who can help you to prepare your fasting.
With shuttered mosques and bans on mass prayers to curb the spread of the virus in the country, Muslims in Marwa are facing a Ramadan like never before.
And now on to this official telegram from the President of the Republic to Mr. Emmanuel Eyum Burnley, care of the Senior Divisional Officer for FACO in Limbe. And it reads, Sir, it is with deep sorrow that I learnt of the death of Mrs. Gwendolyn Efonde Burnley, née Martin, your mother. I understand your profound sorrow and that of your family. I knew Mrs. Gwendolyn Efonde Burnley very well. She was part of the first generation of women who, after their solid education abroad, decided to return to Cameroon to serve the public. She was also a respected politician and a distinguished member of many associations. A former parliamentarian, she was also an honorary member of the CPDM Central Committee. With the demise of Mrs. Gwendolyn Efonde Burnley, FACO Division, the Southwest Region and the CPDM and Cameroon have lost a distinguished lady of great value. I hope that the younger generation will be inspired by her extraordinary life. On this sad occasion, I present to you and your entire family, as well as the people of Limbe and the Board of Directors of Sonora, my sincere condolences. I also associate the immense compassion of my wife. Accept, sir, the assurances of my perfect consideration. And it is signed Paul Beer. And that's where we'll leave it for this evening and for the week. I'll be back again on Monday. Until then, see you around.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.